Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is right here. Thank you for joining me, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. What we're going to do today, this is going to be the first in a series. I think we could call this series Scientology Registrars and Recruiters in Their Own Words. So what I have today is a recording that has been sent to me from a viewer of the channel. And this is someone who has called around to, well, I'm going to say almost every Scientology organization in the United States to see how exactly is it that these salespeople pitch Scientology. In this call, you're going to see how by dropping Grant Cardone's name, he's able to get on the phone with a Scientology Sea Org recruiter here at the Flag land base in Clearwater, where I live. I live in Clearwater, Florida. That's where the Flag land base is. And he's able to get on the phone with this guy and go through the entire recruitment procedure. Now, I'm not going to play that whole phone call for you because it's a multi-hour phone call. Listen to this portion of the call with me and we'll discuss some things as we go.
Fine, can I help you?
This is a are there any available opportunities to apply to work for the Flag org?
Okay, one moment, please.
All right.
I'm just getting someone that will be available shortly for you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
So, I mean, I've kept the video so that we at least have something that we can watch and blurred it. I don't think there's any way Scientology would be able to identify this guy, but I've blurred it just to be safe. And he's not using his real name in the call, but I've bleeped the name anyway just to make Scientology's job a little harder because they will, of course, try to figure out who this guy is.
Hello?
Hey, is that...
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. How you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you.
Good. My name's Nathan. I work in the recruitment office at Flag.
Nice, Nathan. How you doing, man?
Good. So tell me, I got a little bit from the receptionist, but you are reportedly interested in joining staff here?
Yeah, that would be awesome if you have any availability.
They mentioned that you had done some courses out at Tampa, right?
No, in Pasadena, actually.
In Pasadena. Are you living here in Florida now?
I'm in Tampa right now, yeah.
What services did you do in Pasadena?
Well, I actually did some video work for a lot of different celebrities. Grant Cardone was someone who was working with someone that I was working for. And, he recommended it. I don't know if you know who Grant Cardone is, sorry.
Yeah, I know Grant.
Yeah, so he's obviously, vocal about it somewhat.
Yeah, for sure. Did he suggest that you do services or join staff, or what was his?
Well, actually, he suggested that I just do services and join, get the full bridge. Yeah.
Have you done a course yet?
Well, I did all the online stuff. Then I did some, tests in the Pasadena office. Kind of fell out with it because I paid for some $15 ones, $50 ones. This was probably 2 years ago. And I'm trying to get back into it because, I need to obviously continue to be my best self. So.
Yeah, I get you. And what are you doing in Florida these days? Are you working here now?
I am remotely, yes. The remote life is getting to me, and I need to really just get involved in person somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. What do you know about the Sea organization as such? Because there's different organizations, there's different orgs and different types of staff. You happen to call into Flag, which is the top of the top.
I know. I knew it was ambitious. I mean, the Sea Org, would honestly, and I'm shooting for the stars, Nathan, hoping to land on the moon, if you will. All right. So.
Nothing wrong. We like people who shoot high,
Right. And
but how familiar are you with the lifestyle, the organization, the work ethic, these kinds of things?
Well, I know that Grant Cardone saw something in me. It was my work ethic, and he recommended that I get into it because he saw some holes and I was pulling in some unproductive behaviors and whatnot. And so I'm just trying to get to my better self. I'm at a point in my life where I saw Grant, on an interview last night, and he something just inspired me to call and try to work for Flag, maybe tech staff or something where I can be in the community more hands-on. I need to get a little bit of a push here, and I'm willing to work my tail off to do it.
Okay, I hear you. Well, here, give me 1 second. I'm going to grab, there's a little application qualifications type form.
Okay.
That I've got just in a different part of the office. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to grab it and we'll go ahead and
Awesome.
fill it out, all right?
Oh, thank you.
So it's a really interesting combination of him really thinking on his feet, because he has failed to answer some questions that should be huge red flags for the recruiter already. He hasn't mentioned any Scientology courses. Throughout this call, he actually fails to ever come up with the name of any Scientology course he's ever done, including the online courses, which of course he's just making all of this up. So he's persisting anyway. Also, he said the Pasadena Center, no Scientologist would ever call a Scientology org a center. So I'm mentioning those as things that should be setting off red flags. And yet, you guys might not have noticed it, but he said, Grant Cardone encouraged me to, and somewhere in there he said to become tech staff. That's a very specific Scientology word that really no one other than a Scientologist would ever know what that word means in Scientology, would know to use that word. And I'll have to ask him where he got that particular phrase, tech staff. But it does sort of go to show you how desperate these Sea Org recruiters are, that they are ignoring what should be some pretty obvious red flags here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Yes.
hey, I'm gonna call you right now from my cell phone.
Okay.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So if any of these questions, if when I say it makes absolutely no sense, you have no idea what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
don't worry, I'll explain, but just tell me if you don't know what it is.
Gotcha.
Good, and then do you speak any additional languages to your English?
Un poco español, pero no mucho.
How long would you say that you've been in Scientology?
Since about 2017.
Have you ever taken LSD or angel dust?
Angel dust? No. Magic mushrooms.
Is that a derivative of LSD itself?
I don't believe it to be. I believe it to be psilocybin, which is a separate chemical compound, probably similar.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think it's a different kind of like a cousin, but not a brother. What other drugs have you?
Just coffee, alcohol, and that's it.
Have you ever attempted, threatened, or seriously considered committing suicide?
Never.
Let me jump in real quick here. So the LSD question specifically is asked because due to some ridiculous thing L. Ron Hubbard wrote about LSD, there's just about only one thing that could disqualify you forever from being a Sea Org member. And that's if you've ever taken LSD even once. L. Ron Hubbard said something about LSD having this horrible likelihood of giving you flashbacks later in life, and these flashbacks would basically potentially send you into some kind of a psychosis. And for this reason, every Scientologist who's ever had even LSD even once, and remember, this is people were getting into Scientology most heavily in like the 60s and stuff like that, are completely exempt from having to join the Sea Org. I don't actually understand why the Sea Org asks you what your drug history is, because your drug history does not disqualify you from the Sea Org. And there's other reasons Scientology would want to know that for auditing reasons, but there's really no reason for them to want to know that on a Sea Org application, and yet it's there anyway. So, and just before I hit pause, they asked whether he had ever had any thoughts or whatever about unaliving himself, and that is something the Sea Org is particularly sensitive to. They don't particularly enjoy when people do that on Sea Org bases. So if you've ever even had any thoughts about that, they don't want you. All right, let's see what else is going on here.
Okay, and then do you have any institutional history? Ever been to a psychiatric ward or a mental health institution?
Thank God.
All right. And then ever received any psychiatric brain operation or shock treatment?
No.
All right. Have you ever visited a psychiatrist, psychologist, or any other mental practitioner?
Nope.
Okay, and then do you have any present time chronic physical illnesses or mental illnesses or any like physical conditions or situations?
Besides weight gain, like a slight amount of weight gain during COVID, because all the facilities have been shut down. That's my main ailment right now. But other than that, I'm in great shape. I can run very far.
This one says, do you feel an auditor or a Scientology book is responsible for any unwanted condition you are in?
No, the opposite actually.
Good. And then are you joining staff on someone else's determinism rather than your own?
No.
Right. Have you ever been in doubt regarding Scientology itself?
No.
Okay. And then is your intention for any processing or training only to see if it works?
Well, my intention is so that I can actually reach the highest level of my bridge. That's my main intention.
This is a strange question in Scientology. Are you only here, the way it's usually worded is, are you getting auditing and training with an open mind? And L. Ron Hubbard defined an open mind as basically doing it just to see if it works. Now, that's not what having an open mind means, but it usually creates a very awkward point in an interview where the person goes, are you approaching Scientology with an open mind? And the person goes, oh, yes, most definitely. Yes, completely. And the interviewer is like, oh, well, actually, that's a bad thing. So let me explain to you what open mind means. And so anyway, it comes down to the fact that L. Ron Hubbard said people who are trying Scientology just to see if it works are really skeptics and aren't active participants in the process, and therefore Scientology won't work on them, and therefore you should not accept someone for auditing or training who's just doing it to see if it works. Isn't that interesting? Because part of what I think is the kind of the conditioning or the programming involved in Scientology is that it only works if you want it to work. And this is kind of a piece of evidence of that if you're not there to be if you don't want it to work, they don't even want you. Isn't that kind of interesting? All right, let's see what else.
All right. Gotcha. Okay, then do you think that auditing should be done for free or for publicity reasons?
Heck no.
Okay, good. Okay, do you believe that people can get better?
Most people can, but if you're sadistic or into some really weird stuff, then probably not.
Okay, fair enough. So in 2017, you popped into Pasadena.org. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I did. Well, I was always kind of hoping for someone to, I guess, hold my hand through the process. No one really did. It was just Grant's recommendation. He's like, listen, dude, I can't really help. He's like, listen, dude, drop my name, go on in there, and you'll get right on in.
Okay.
And I was like, all right.
Did you go into the org first, or did you check the online website? Or you went straight?
No, I didn't even go onto the website at first, actually. I went straight in there.
So you were working directly for Grant in 2007?
No, I never worked. No, I never worked for him. I worked for someone that he worked with, and I gravitated more toward. I actually gravitated more toward Grant at the time because he came to do an in-person interview, and that's when he talked about it. When he first talked about it, I was like, "Oh, I knew that there was something to his success," you know.
Yeah. Did they give you a little tour? Did they have you do the personality test?
Well, I watched a video. Yeah, I watched a video, then I did the personality test, and then I started doing, then I went on to the online courses, all the online courses.
And then after the personality test, normally they sit down and they kind of go over it with you and they say, we recommend this course.
Yeah.
Do you remember that happening?
Yeah, and it cost money, and I didn't have any money at the time.
See, the recruiter can't quite figure out why this guy is completely unable to give him the name of any actual Scientology course that he's done. Because if you do a course in the actual org, the chance of you not remembering the name of that course is pretty small. And yet this guy just keeps plugging his way through this interview, and the recruiter doesn't know what to do with it.
Oh, I gotcha. From the basic qualifications form you filled out,
Yeah.
I'll tell you you've actually got quite good quals, and it seems like you've just kind of kept yourself on the right track. But you're very new to the religion itself. You know what I mean? In terms of the organization, right? Because my function in that flag is obviously telling people about the organization, but making sure that they know what they're getting into.
Right.
Like, the Sea Org itself is not, it's a very, it's a very dedicated organization. It's a very, we're not here for the money. We're not here for, we have very, I guess, how would you call it? Like, we're very professional and we have high standards. So there's not, like, nobody here is dying of food. We all live quite well, but,
Right.
We're not retiring with $1 million and things. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
There's some, I guess, particular things about the Sea Org, which I'll just get out of the way right off the bat, which is basically the things that you're not going to like,
Right.
and things that will quite possibly make you think twice about jumping in. Okay. So, in the Sea Org, right, there's no, if somebody's in the Sea Org and they were to a woman, for example, if she were to get pregnant, she would have to leave the organization to have her child.
Okay.
Given the nature, like the hours and just kind of the nature of work, where
she can't dedicate. Yeah.
Like I've had it where one day I'm here in Florida and the next day I'm on a plane to Italy, or
Now, the recruiter's being very delicate about the words he's using to describe the thing he's trying to describe. He says she would have to leave the organization to have the kid, as opposed to describing what she would have to do in order to stay in the organization, because there certainly is a strong implication when you join the Sea Org. You sign a billion-year contract. So the assumption is that you're going to stay. So the assumption is that you're going to do the thing required in order to stay. So the assumption is you're taking the Scientology shuttle to the clinic to get that problem taken care of. That's how the Scientology ministers, the clergy. By the way, I learned this week that all Sea Org members in Scientology are legally considered ministers. So how about it? How about the fact that the Church of Scientology here in Clearwater, Florida, has a weekly shuttle that takes its ministers to the clinic to get that little problem taken care of so they can continue to be in the Sea Org? Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm pro-choice and proud of it. But I also don't call myself a church and call my members ministers. All right, let's see what else.
One day I'm, here in Florida, and the next day I've got to, drive to a different state to, carry out some activity. So it's kind of like a fast-paced, long hours kind of schedule, which is irresponsible to raise a child in that environment, right?
100%.
So we're not against childbearing or anything of the sort, but within the organization itself, it's just not something that is allowed.
Right. Yeah.
And then another one is sex before marriage. So here, let's say you're in the Sea Org, you're at Flag, and you see a girl, another Sea Org member, and you're like, oh, she's good looking. I think she's, looking at me out of the corner of my eye. I think I'm going to go for it.
Right.
You can, you guys can just be the best of friends, and, you can get as many kisses as you want, but you got to keep your hands in your pockets and
100%.
Keep it clean until you're married.
100%.
It is such a strange contradiction in the world of Scientology that its innermost clergy members have this very puritanical, you'd almost say evangelical conservatism on this subject of premarital relations. But then once you're married, boy, you better go to that clinic and get that problem taken care of, if you know what I'm talking about. I mean, right? Because in some ways, I'm sure Scientologists think of themselves as being very socially progressive. And then you have the highest levels of the Scientology religion, its ministers that have this just absurdly puritanical approach to to premarital relations, even though they do not have a puritanical set of beliefs on the subject of marriage itself, as far as marriage and divorce. Sea Org members get married and divorced like it's nothing. I've known people in their 20s who'd already been married and divorced in the Sea Org several times. That's what I'm saying. It's a really weird contradiction. So anyhow, that is where I've chosen to end this portion of the call. I will go through the rest of the call and take out a bunch more segments. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of such phone calls with different Scientology organizations all around the country. And as time allows, I'm going to go through them and pull out the best, most interesting, educational, enlightening parts. Maybe hearing Scientology registrars and recruiters say things that we've never actually heard them say from their own mouths. We only hear these things when people tell their own personal story. So stay tuned for that, guys. If you're watching this video and it is Friday evening at 8 o'clock tonight, I'll be doing a live stream with the DUI guy on his YouTube channel. So if that hasn't already happened, well, watch that live, or you can go over there and watch the replay. All right, everyone, that's all I have for now. Thanks to everyone for watching and listening. Thank you to everyone who watches until the very end, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right